All right, guys, I'm going to try and keep this as simple as possible. It can really get quite in-depth. I'm just using a lovely product called Future Life as my label example here. I'm not comparing any products here, but this will just to show you what to look for, and then when you want to compare in the future, you can. Just a couple of things when I'm looking at labels, and like I say, they can be confusing, but they can certainly be empowering, and that's what I'm wanting to change it to, from confusing to empowering. The first thing we look at on a label is the ingredients list. So let me just introduce you to that. This then obviously gives you an idea of what's actually in this product. And usually the ingredients are labeled from the most that's in the product to the least that is in the product. So for example, here you'll see smart maize, which is made from a whole grain flour, non-genetically modified, that kind of thing. So that's great to see. We need to be wary of products where the first ingredient, for example, is sugar. Okay, that we need to be wary of. Okay. So the ingredients list tells us what's in there. So if you're looking for certain ingredients that you're not allowed, or that you shouldn't be having, or that you want in there, this is where you need to look to see if what you want is in there or not in there. Okay. Then this is where it starts to get confusing when we start looking at this nutrition, the typical nutrition information. But all this is just gives us an idea of the nutrients that are in the product per either 100 grams or 100 mils if it's a liquid product. And then also often per serving. Not every manufacturer has the per serving quantities. They all have the one per 100 grams or 100 mils. Some manufacturers have the per serving quantities, but not all. Okay, and it's very good to look at what the serving size is and how much it is, okay, because it may differ from product to product, even within the same range. The serving size may differ, so have a look at that. All right, so that's the typical nutrition information. Things that I'm going to look at now, I'm going to look at energy, and I'm going to look at carbohydrates, and I'm going to touch on fats and salt. Okay, those are the main things that we're going to look at. All right, this nutrient reference value, that just gives you your percentage for the day for the most adults, usually from the age of about 7 actually, up into adults. But yeah, I'm not too concerned about that at the moment. I'm looking at these things over here. So with energy, you'll see that in South Africa, we use kilojoules as our energy measure. You may see an imported product or some other products that may have calories or kilocalories. Now, technically, a kilocalorie and a calorie are different, the same as a gram is different to a kilogram. But in the sort of food manufacturing business, they're used quite interchangeably. And then if you want to convert, a kilojoule is 4.2 kilocalories. Okay, but usually in South Africa, to keep it easy, we just use kilojoules. So, and just remember, for total energy, what we're wanting for a main meal, you know, depending on the gender, on your activity levels, things like that, we're looking anything between 1,200 and about 1,800, 2,100, somewhere around there, about 2,000 kilojoules per main meal. A snack needs to be less, about 500 kilojoules for a lady, a little bit more, maybe 750 kilojoules for a male. So that just helps to see that, for example, this product in the serving, it's 729 kilojoules per serving, which could be used as a snack as well. If you then add some milk or something, you can pop you up and you can have a nice main meal. Okay, for a lady, it will be a little bit too much for a snack, one serving of this. Okay, it also helps when you're looking at these sort of bars, general health bars and things like that, to have a look at the total energy and actually see, is it a snack? Because a lot of people use them as snacks, but then you go and you see perhaps the whole bar is almost 1,000 kilojoules. Then you need to know, for example, okay, either keep this as a meal on the run or halve it, share it with a friend, and then you've got a snack. Okay, so just keep that in mind. So that's total energy. And this one is nice. It indicates we are looking at a low GI product. Okay, so, and that is a whole nother talk altogether. We'll go through that another time. In terms of glycemic carbohydrate, we're looking at carbohydrates now. Okay, glycemic carbohydrates, this is generally the sort of total carbohydrates that the body uses for energy. And usually this includes both added sugars and natural sugars coming from things like your dairy or, you know, lactose or fructose or something like that from fruit. So the total glycemic carbohydrates here per serving, it'll give it to you there, and then they tell you of which sugar here is 7.9 grams, okay? And they were very kind to write exactly how many teaspoons. So with sugar, a useful thing to know is that 5 grams of sugar is 1 teaspoon, all right? So then you'll know. What we're trying to avoid is having more than about 6 teaspoons of added sugar in a day. So that's the kind that you put in, and the frightening thing is it adds up quickly. So that's what you put in your tea and coffee, sprinkle over your cereal, you know, the added sugars that you find in sauces and condiments and things like that. So that adds up very quickly. So it's good to be aware of what you're having in. This particular product includes this, and so you don't need to add extra sugar, and it is, as with all the other, with the low GI combination, it doesn't cause a spike. So just so that you know, with this one, which is quite nice. So just be, you know, with sugar also, there's lots of different ways to say sugar. So when you're looking at the ingredients list, when you see sucrose is one of them, but the others are, you know, there's lots with the honey or caramel or molasses, or there's lots of other ones that you can just be aware of. If it is a natural sugar, you know, from fruit or dairy or vegetables or certain types of vegetables or carbohydrates that are high in fiber, these kinds of natural occurring sugars are okay. It's the added sugars that we need to be careful of, okay? So yeah, those are the ones that are actually removed from their natural states and then added in as extras. That's what we need to be careful of. So a nice easy way for me to remember with sugar, and I normally tell my patients this, is sugar has 5 letters in it. So less than 5 grams is considered very low. We can have a little bit more than that. Anything with more than 15 to 20 grams per 100 grams is going to be slightly higher. But then also you've got to take into context what your portion is. Okay, so if you're having a 100-gram portion, that's going to be quite a lot. Okay, and this is why you need to be careful of your portion sizes. Okay, so sugar, nice and easy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 letters. Less than 5 grams, you're looking at a low sugar content. Okay, you have moderate content, which then is everyday use, and then up to, you know, more than 20 grams is going to be a high intake, which is there we need to be very careful of. All right, so that's a little bit on the carbs and the sugar. Also with the carbohydrates, remember also need to look at the fiber content. So even if the sugar content per 100 grams is not the low sugar, look at your fiber content. Here's fiber, 6.1 per 100 grams. Now anything over 6 grams per 100 is a high fiber containing food, which is really good. We want more fiber in our diets. Okay, so that's going to help to bring your sugar in slower and make this more of a low glycemic index product. Okay, fats. Again, this can become confusing. You see saturated fats, polyunsaturated fats, trans fatty acids, all these kinds of things, monounsaturated fats. What we want to see is more of these monounsaturated fats and less of the saturated ones. And we want to see as little of the trans fats as possible. Okay, those are the ones that can be damaging to the heart. All right, so that's a nice and easy one. Again, with total fat, a low fat is 3 grams or less. So FAT, 3 letters, less than 3 grams is low, which is your healthier option. And again, up to sort of 20 grams as you can have sort of most of the time. More than that is a high fat product. So we just then need to be careful of those, not too often, especially if you're trying to lose weight, okay? Because even small amounts of fat it's a lot of kilojoules or a lot of kilojoules at a time. So it could add weight even if you're having a little bit, all right? So just be careful of those. So those are your fat. Salt content, okay? This is one especially if you're concerned about blood pressure. Now, sodium, I don't have an acronym for the number of letters in the sodium, but anything above your 600 milligrams of sodium per 100 is a lot. So as long as we're underneath that is best. 120 milligrams is very low. We sort of play between 120 and 600 milligrams as an acceptable medium, okay? But if you suddenly see a product that's got 1,000 milligrams per 100 grams of sodium, know that that's a lot and just be careful. Take it in small amounts. Okay, so I hope that helps. Again, what's your portions? You need to look at what works. What are you looking at? Are you looking at total energy? Are you looking at the total amount of carbohydrates? Especially if you have diabetes, we need to look at carbs, we need to look at fiber. If you're looking at weight loss, look at your total energies, your fat content, or if your heart problems or sodium content, your cholesterol content, things like that. Look at what you need to, what works for you, and then you can compare products as well, because then you can see from one to the next what's there or what shouldn't be there. Be careful of misleading claims, things like the lights and the this and the that. It could be light, it could be lighter in, it might have different meanings. So, for example, it says maybe a new biscuit and it's less kilojoules, but it might be the biscuit's a smaller size. So be sure to have a look at your serving sizes, your portions, what they are, and then you can compare like an original to a light, for example, and see the difference there. Also look out for logos like the Heart and Stroke Foundation. For example, let's show you this logo here. Focus. Sorry, this is not focusing. There. Your Heart and Stroke Foundation. That's a nice logo to look out for. Your Low GI Foundation, or your GI Foundation of South Africa, your Father Day, Cancer Association, Diabetes Association of South Africa. These kinds of logos are very helpful, and they've gone through very strict rules and guidelines to follow. So those are generally well-trusted guidelines to go through. Okay, so yeah, and then look at your boxes, lots of information on the back into focus here. There we go. So enjoy, have a look at the labels, get smart with your labels, use it to empower your choices, to make healthier choices, and go and have a look and see what you can find, and some interesting things. Go and see your normal foods that you normally have, compare your labels, have a look and see what you're eating, what you're not eating, and just be aware of those main ones: your total kilojoules, your fats, your sugar, and fiber, and salt. Those are the main ones, but there's lots of others, and we can, if there's questions, please let me know. Otherwise, enjoy. All the best for the rest of the Fit Slim Challenge. Sorry, enjoy the rest of the Fit Slim Challenge, and we'll see you closer to the end. Bye bye.